everybody, it's Katie back with another episode of my vlog, and it's time for the Cinema Club Sunday Roundup. Another short one this week. We actually only watched 3 movies because most of our watch time was being taken up by the totally awesome Korean show Sweet Home. I'm not going to talk about that one on this episode because we haven't quite finished the whole show yet, but we're very excited to watch the last few episodes this week. So we'll catch up with that one next week on Sunday. Meanwhile, this week, we only watched 3 movies, like I said. 2 entries from the Final Destination series, and we finally got a chance to see Tenet. So let's jump right in and start with Tenet. That is the 2020 Christopher Nolan directed science fiction action super mega blockbuster movie that was supposed to be the giant tentpole of summer 2020, but of course didn't get released on time because of the coronavirus pandemic. By the time it finally did get released, it did not do well in the box office because of the coronavirus pandemic. So I was super curious to watch this movie. I've been hearing talk about it for almost 2 years now. I've been avoiding talk about it for almost 2 years now because I knew as soon as I heard that it was a Christopher Nolan movie, science fiction action, I immediately said, okay, stop right there. Don't tell me anything more. As you guys know, I like to go in completely cold to movies. And so I'm going to try to review this as spoiler-free as possible in the hopes that you guys can go in knowing as little as possible about this movie. But of course, I have to say something about it. My kind of basic review in a nutshell of this movie is it's Christopher Nolan doing his Christopher Nolan thing. And it's kind of overly simplistic, but basically Batman plus Memento together in one movie. You want a bunch of guys traveling around the world with unlimited budgets and unlimited awesome, incredible tech that you've never heard of, or amazing weapons, or, just everything at their fingertips. That's the Batman part. Plus a kind of mind-bending, tricky puzzler of a plot, which does involve some, for lack of a better term, time fuckery. Not time travel necessarily, but it's revealed pretty early on in the film that somebody from the future has developed a technology where they can mess with an object's or a person's entropy and the direction that the object or person is traveling through time. So you have, and that's kind of secretive at the very beginning of the film. But what the result of this is you get a lot of kind of time bending scenarios in which people or objects are moving forwards and backwards through time at the same time as other people are moving in the opposite direction through the same space. So it gets very confusing very fast. And luckily, the person in the movie who's there to explain how this tech works even says, don't think too hard about it, because really, anytime there's any time travel or changing the direction of time or anything like that in a movie, you can't really apply too much logic to it because it's never going to hold all the way together. So I really prefer the don't think too hard about it approach. Maybe it's a little bit magic and not all tech, right? But the result is you get some really amazing battle scenes, fight scenes, car chases where cars are moving forwards and backwards at the same time in the same space. Scenes where 2 guys are fighting in a hallway, hand-to-hand combat. And it's like, are they moving forwards or are they moving backwards? What is going on here? It's very like so many Christopher Nolan movies, visually just astounding and almost overwhelming. Not quite. He kind of, he's a little bit more poetic with his action sequences, I feel like, and doesn't throw just every single thing on screen at once like some directors do. But I would say almost overwhelming at times. John David Washington, who is the principal actor in the movie, does a great job. Unfortunately, they didn't give him a name. He's just called the protagonist in the credits, which is so silly, but it gets even stupider later in the movie. He starts referring to himself as the protagonist, like almost breaking the fourth wall, but not quite, which is just like eye rolling. Like, as my kids would say, it's cringe to not give the main character a name, but then have him calling himself the protagonist within the construct of the movie. I just, anyhow, excuse me. All in all, a really fun movie. A very, huge blockbuster action movie. Christopher Nolan really knows how to direct an action sequence. They're always incredible. And this movie is no exception. I will say, there's one scene with a 747 that is incredible. I don't want to say what happens in the scene, but I'll tell you guys, in my research, I found out none of it was done with models. Christopher Nolan actually figured out it would be cheaper to just buy a 747 and use it for this great scene that they have. So when you watch the movie, that's a real plane, not just special effects for that one. Pretty cool. Overall, I found it really enjoyable. Sean didn't like it as much. He doesn't like that overly puzzly type of movie. And the kids were kind of lost. We got to the end of the movie and they were like, well, that was cool, but I don't feel like I got it. And then I offered to explain it to them and they were like, no, yeah, I'm cool. Like, I don't need to explain more than that, but I really didn't get it. So if you're the type of person who likes a really thinky movie, a puzzle to solve, something to kind of unwind, if you like Inception, if you liked Memento, you'll like this movie a lot. If you're not the type that likes that, if you want everything spelled out for you, if you don't want to have to try and guess ahead what's going to happen, you might not enjoy it as much, but I think it would still be pretty enjoyable. It just might not be as clear, if that makes sense. Great acting from everyone in the movie. Great special effects. Again, the writing is good for what the film is. Couple of small complaints aside, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I am curious, or would be curious, to watch it again. Of course, as with any of these puzzly movies, you go back and watch it the second or third time and you pick up so much more in the first part of the movie that didn't make sense to you on first watch. I'm not going to be in a rush to watch it again, though. I'm not like, oh my God, that was so great, I got to watch it again right now. But yeah, Tenet, definitely recommended. Again, if you're into any of the stuff that I was just talking about, this movie is definitely going to ring your bells. So, and then other than Tenet, we watched 2 of the Final Destination movies this week. We watched Final Destination 2 from 2003 and Final Destination 3 from 2006. We had watched the first film a couple months ago. I think I reviewed it on the vlog. Of course, this is a great template horror franchise, if you will. The first film sees a group of students headed off on a plane trip. One of the students has a vision of the plane crashing before they take off, and so he kicks up a fuss and they get thrown off the plane, and then, of course, the plane crashes. And then the people who should have died in the plane crash are slowly picked off one by one by Death, who has a design and a plan. This is where this kind of starts to fall apart, but stick with me here. And so then all the people who weren't killed in the original cataclysmic accident die in a series of horrific accidents throughout the rest of the film. Meanwhile, the protagonist is trying to warn the other people who missed being killed in the plane crash that they're going to be killed, in some horrible accident. So we make it to the second movie. Only one person has actually survived from the first movie, and she's now living in a padded room at a asylum. She's actually checked herself in there so that nothing can kill her. And now we have the second film. This is the one that opens with the incredible opening scene of the unbelievable freeway pileup that is caused by a log, or a log truck, I should say, one of those great semi-tractor trailers that's got just logs on the back of it secured by a chain. If you live on the West Coast and have driven on I-5 ever, you will know the exact log truck that I'm talking about. We actually have it as it's not the free space in our form of road bingo because McDonald's is the free space, but we have a joke that you cannot travel on I-5 for any length of time without spotting a log truck. It's just what's going to happen, especially in Oregon. So the opening scene of Final Destination 2 is this gigantic, horrific multi-car truck motorcycle pileup that happens on the freeway that's all kicked off by this log truck. The chain slips off and all the logs go flying onto the freeway, and then, they hit one car and that hits another car and everything's bursting into flames and everyone's dying. And then it's revealed that, just like in the first movie, this is simply a vision that the main character is having of what is about to happen. So she doesn't get on the freeway, keeps her SUV parked off to the side, and gets to witness the whole terrible car accident scenario happen, and her friends all get killed. And then we proceed to have basically a replay of the first movie, where the characters figure out, oh, death is stalking us. Death has a design and is, picking off the people that didn't die in the car crash one at a time. The second movie sees the addition of the concept of new life can defeat death. So now our characters are not only trying to stop the other people who should have been killed in the car crash from dying a horrific death, but we also have this element where they're trying to find a pregnant lady and save her so she can give birth to her baby, because their idea is that this is the new life that's going to just stop the whole chain of death that's been happening. Much like in Tenet, the Final Destination movies really gain a lot if you don't think about it too much. Unlike Tenet, the Final Destination movies have horrible writing, horrible acting. They're not very good movies, but you don't watch them for good writing and good acting and good story. It doesn't matter, the whole death is stalking us thing doesn't really make sense. The reason why you watch these movies is to see these incredible, outrageous, like Rube Goldberg machines of death that happen to the people who escaped death in the opening scene. They just get more convoluted and complicated as the franchise goes on, and they are so much fun. If you're a fan of, crazy horror movies, crazy splattery, gory deaths, really complicated setups for things where it's like, oh, there's an air conditioner and it's dripping condensation out of it, and now there's a pool of water forming on the floor, and maybe someone's going to slip in the pool of water, or maybe this electrical thing is going to short out and the cord is going to fly out of the wall and land in the puddle on the floor, triggering something else to happen, and then somebody's going to die in some horribly ghastly way. If you like the sound of that, then you do want to watch the Final Destination movies. Again, these are not great films. You kind of feel a little stupider for watching them, but the whole point is just some sort of thin plot connecting these outrageous death scenes together. And the death scenes are really, really fun. There's one in the second movie, besides the opening scene with the car wreck, which is just incredible. There's one where a guy who's incredibly lucky, who's just won the lottery and didn't die in the car wreck, he has a series of outrageous sort of kitchen accidents that happen to him. Not going to say too much more about how that concludes, but it's a pretty excellent scene in the movie. By the time we get to the third Final Destination movie, we're now at a grad night at a fair or an amusement park, and we have a group of teenagers who are all going to go get on this scary, like, devil's roller coaster together. The main character has a vision of the roller coaster having a horrendous accident, flying off the rails. People are flying everywhere. A horrible, bloody scene. And so she freaks out and gets off the roller coaster and gets a bunch of other people thrown off the roller coaster. And then, you guessed it, rinse and repeat. Same formula as the other two movies, but same formula as all 5 movies in this franchise. The third movie is a little bit weaker than the first 2. I don't know if it's just kind of third movie in a franchise-itis, but it's got the female lead, whose name I can't remember. That's the other thing. It's like all these disposable teenage actors in all of these movies, like nobody that I could even put a name to. The female lead in the third Final Destination movie is good. She's a good actress, and she can really carry her part. Everybody else is, no, they don't have really well-written parts, and then they're not like the greatest actors either. So it, follows the exact same formula as the other ones, and we get some great death scenes in this film. Not going to say too much about it, but man, that tanning salon scene, all right, you guys know it. You probably love it. The other thing that the third movie introduces is a haunted camera. And I do always love a nice haunted camera in a horror movie, right? The main character is taking pictures of everybody at the fair. And then when she looks at the pictures, of course, the pictures are revealing how everyone is going to die. A little bit of a, nod to The Omen with that one. But really, any haunted camera movie, it's always a great trope to stick in your horror movie. So, 2 out of 5 of the Final Destination franchise movies. We enjoyed them, but again, they are not great movies. They are great, complicated death scenes. Again, they're like Rube Goldberg machines, but designed to kill you. Strung together by a plot that's, it's okay. It's an interesting concept, but they get a little too detailed with it and sort of personifying death as this character who's coming after you is always a little weird to me because death is, of course, just an unseen universal force. But we're totally having fun watching these movies, and we're totally going to watch the 4th and 5th movies. Maybe not this week, but coming up in the near future because, I'm having a ton of fun watching them and sharing them with the kids. They've never seen them before. And I'm pretty sure the 5th one is my favorite, but I don't want to say that now until I watch it again, right? So that's it for me for this week. As usual, I would love to find out what you guys have been watching. If you've got anything to recommend for me or some other weird horror that I would love, go ahead, comment down below. I'd love to hear about it. I will be back in a few more days with another episode of my vlog. And until then, stay safe and take care out there. And thanks so much for watching.